All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another coffee Q&A. It is Thursday, June 6th, 2024. We're halfway through the year already. Can you believe that? It's craziness, craziness. So what's going on? How's everyone doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. It's pretty warm here in Baltimore, probably upper 70s right now, and it is pretty high on the humidity scale, so it's a little bit sticky out here. Like the my thermos is getting the frostiness on it. So how y'all doing this week? How's it been? Everything's good? Hope everything's going well. My week's been pretty good. The weather's not too bad. We had a bit of rain today. I was kind of concerned that maybe we wouldn't be able to get the show rolling because the rain that we had pretty heavy storms last night. Last night were some tornadoes and heavy storms. Actually, one of my former staff members, she lives in a part of Baltimore, and she put out a message. She's like, wow, we had a tornado that blew through her yard. Luckily, it didn't take out her house or take out any of her family members or pets. So that was really kind of crazy. So, but there was some rain this morning, but it all calmed down. Sun came out, and it's still a bit humid. It's still a bit humid, but at least it's not too hot. We're going to expect to get down into the 70s as we go through the show. So I got the fire all set up, ready to go, just in case it gets a little bit cool, right? So today we've got some coffee as well as a cigar for you. Today's cigar is the Aramas from Ozgener Family Cigars that is made by, I don't know if it's made by or just distributed by Crown Heads. I'm not sure the whole story behind it. Maybe George Brightman, if he comes in, will be able to tell us a little bit more about the background there. But Cano Ozgener grew up in Istanbul, Turkey, and at some point they're of Armenian descent. So, Armenians, they have been pursued by all kinds of terribleness by a lot of different forces, and still kind of continues today. A lot of people struggling, but Cano Ozgener was there. I guess at some point he moved to Nashville, and one of our good friends, Peter Gunn, was friends with the family. He knew Eileen Ozgener, Cano's daughter, for quite well and quite a long time. And I got to meet Eileen a few years back, and really nice person. And unfortunately, Cano passed away a few years back, and I believe they sold the Ozgener cigars to someone else. I don't know who they sold it to. And yeah, now they I don't know what their involvement is. Mom, good to see you, man. How are you doing today? Hope it's well up in there in Queens. All right, so let's go with our coffee for the day. Our coffee for the day is this coffee that we used in the morning stream. Instead of brewing it hot, I decided it's kind of warm. Let's do it a little bit cold. So around 5 o'clock, I took the coffee and I ground 36 grams, kind of in a medium grind setting, put it in this Abid Clever, added some room temperature water. Like out here in the weather, it feels cool comparatively. It's been sitting there for like about almost 3 hours. And medium grind, 36 grams. So I brewed it a little bit heavier than normal. What's up there, Rusty? Good to see you. Oh yeah, I forgot. Last week we were using the YouTube service, and I got away from StreamYard. I wanted to see what that looked like, and I was reviewing the footage, the video from last week. And honestly, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because it's the phone, the forward-facing camera of the phone, but I didn't really see a tremendous difference in image quality between being on StreamYard with the phone versus being on YouTube with the phone. I don't know what you guys think. I'd be interested to know what you think about that. Let me know. George says that General Cigar bought CAO before the company was absorbed by STG. Oh, okay, gotcha. Which was then still Swedish Match. Okay, gotcha. And so this coffee today is from Huila, Colombia. It's from a place called, it's from a producer by the name of Jose Fredy Rodriguez. And it was actually sourced by one of my good friends, Christopher Ferran, back in 2021, 2002, 22, when he was still with Phoenix Coffee in Cleveland. Now, he did give me this coffee as a gift when I went to visit Cleveland, and we hung out a little bit, and he was telling me what he's doing. Now he's kind of gone on his own direction and doing his own thing separate from Phoenix, but he's a really great coffee buyer and really finds some beautiful stuff. This particular coffee is an anaerobic coffee that is using something called the Variedad Colombia. And Variedad Colombia is actually a hybrid coffee of Arabica and maybe a little bit Robusta that was first developed by Cine Cafe in 1982. And Cine Cafe is this organization that is run by the government of Colombia and works in association with what we call the FNC, the Federación Nacional de Cafeteros, which is the group that is Juan de Valdez and controls all export of coffee out of Colombia. George says, I love that coffee. It is coffee packaging. Sure, yeah, I didn't bring it out here, but it is really nice. They did a really nice job with it. And where's Tony's with us? What's going on, Tony? How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. And this coffee is a development by City Cafe. And what they've taken is they've taken the Bourbon and they have a hybrid. They have mixed it with. I thought I remembered all of this. This particular Típica. And this Típica is actually a hybridization of Robusta and Arabica coffees, which has in this particular format, it showed itself to be quite disease resistant to what's called La Roya. And La Roya is the Spanish term for something we call coffee rust. And why it's called coffee rust? Because the green coffee leaves are basically assaulted with green rust powder that basically just decimates the trees. Like if you talk to coffee producers and you say, hey, is rust really a bad thing? Like they freak out, like because if it arrives and it gets a foothold in their crops, it can wipe out everything. I've been to farms. I went to one farm in El Salvador quite a few number of years, maybe 10 years ago, and it was totally decimated. Like, I mean, it was just like you saw this big forest of trees with all these trees that would be great, but they're all like sticks because all the leaves are gone, everything is gone. And it's really a problem. Now, there are many ways to combat this. A lot of times, but a lot of times people are trying to make new hybrids to fight that. And so this particular hybrid, this Variedad Colombia, is one that's designed to be disease resistant as well as high production, right? Because the countries are always interested in having as the plants produce as much coffee as possible. Your typical coffee tree, if it's healthy, will probably grow about 7 pounds of coffee per year. Is that right? Oh, no, maybe Rusty, is that right? Maybe it's 1 pound. Maybe it's 1 pound per year. So they're trying to increase that yield. If they get it to 1.5 pounds, right, then tremendous results. So you're trying to be very plentiful, but it's really about quantity. And so within the specialty coffee world, since this the entire time I've been here, in Phoenix's paperwork, their whole spiel, they say that this particular coffee has been widely regarded as unremarkable. Like it doesn't really produce a great coffee. It's not really interesting. It's really just kind of this high production coffee that's really geared for the commercial market. But this guy, Jose Fredy Rodriguez, took the coffee and did processing. So the whole thing about this coffee is that supposedly the reason that it's interesting is not because of its origins. And the impression that I'm getting is to a lesser extent the fact how it's cultivated, but more on how it has been processed after harvest, right? Tony says he's smoking a 5-year-old Ward Maestro del Tiempo, 5205 Lonsdale, and yes, excellent, excellent, glad to hear it. So this coffee is not really well regarded, but what he's doing, he's taking the coffee and he's following some good practices where they're only harvesting the ripe cherries, which are red and crimson cherries. So selective harvesting, and then they take that whole cherry, they float it, they wash it and float it, which means that they put it into a vat, they let it float, they put it in a vat of water, and any cherries that float to the top that have low density are considered lower grade, skimmed off, and then those cherries are then pushed dry into a sealed plastic container for 36 hours, where anaerobic, I don't know, we call it anaerobic, or a lot of people will call it anaerobic, but really it's just a low oxygen environment, where anaerobic really technically means that there is no oxygen, right? But it's a low oxygen environment. And I guess at some point, as fermentation starts, the oxygen, whatever oxygen is inside, whatever air is inside the tank, is displaced by the CO2 from byproduct of fermentation, something like that. But they call it anaerobic. And so 36 hours in there, and then they pull it out. Then they pulp it. So they basically run it through a pulper, separate the seeds from the shell, from the hull. And the seeds, of course, are covered in this fruity matter, this thing called mucilage. And so then they're taken, pushed back into another container, dry, dry fermented in another plastic low oxide container for 24 hours. Then they're brought back out, washed, dried for 22 days, and then put in what we call reposado. Reposado means that it's just going to sit there and kind of like mature and age and just get a better feeling for itself. George Simmons, what's going on, man? Evening all, enjoying a Wise Men Maduro with Penelope Bourbon. Ooh, I've not heard of this Penelope Bourbon. How is that coming along for you? So once all that's done, it is then sold off by this company called Osiru, which is an exporter out of Colombia and importer into the United States. And that was sold to Phoenix. And this particular coffee only was a 40 kilogram lot. So really small, or 20 kilogram lot. So at 44 pounds total, sold at $9.90 a pound green, with 76% of that going to the farmer. So about $8.76 per pound. Of course, it sounds great, but of course, I don't think Fredy Rodriguez is making a living off of that, because it's only 44 pounds, $500 maybe. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. But, no matter how cheap it is to live in Colombia compared to the United States, $500 is not going to feed you for the year. My hair does look a little bit narrow, doesn't it? Now that I'm looking at it. Penelope is a very trendy whiskey, George. Oh, okay, nice. And then reposado means rested. Yes. So they've rested in the parchment, what we call en pergamino. That is also put into what's called grain pro bags. Grain pro bags are these basically big, heavy trash bags that are supposed to help control the environment and moisture levels of coffee. Like when we have coffee shipped to America from pretty much wherever they are coming from in the world, now we have them all packaged. You've seen the burlap, the jute bags. Usually inside those bags is another liner of that. That's this plastic liner that we call Grain Pro. That's that's the original name from the original brand name. Now there's a whole bunch of EcoTot and a bunch of other ones that are doing very similar. But the idea is that it's supposed to protect the coffee and maintain the ideal conditions, right? Because if it's just in the jute or in the burlap, anything can happen. It can even absorb the flavors of the burlap itself, and that's not necessarily what you want. So and once it arrives in America, then they roasted it in a Loring, I guess Kestrel S35, 35 kilo Loring air roaster, air drum roaster, and it's pretty lightly roasted. And so I'll show it to you here. This is the coffee ready to go. It's got some interesting notes now that I can smell the aroma. George Brightman says that I'm smoking finally the My Father tribute cigar made by Pete. Ooh, that was half of the La Union release a few months back. While I sip on some H. Hoverholt Monongahela Rye. Ooh, nice. And George One says it's the first bottle I bought, and I must say for $40. Oh, $40 for the Penelope. That's not bad. That's not bad. George is not convinced yet. What's going on? There's Rusty. So it's got this really light, kind of fruity, floral, aromatic kind of nose. And, after 3 hours, we're going to give it a try and see how it works. Now, I did bring, since it is cold brew, I thought I got my thermos here, dug this out of the closet, filled it with ice, and I'm going to clever it down, see if we can get this to work without it spilling. I'm going to rely on some of the now I'm not going to be able to fit all of it in there, but we're going to fit as much as we can. And then we can just refill from it as we go, if necessary. Right, that's good. There it is. Our elixir for the day. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Very nice. I think I'm gonna have to bring some bottles to Ridgewood. Excellent. Excellent. We're always trying to be high fancy here. High tech fancy. All right, let's taste it. So this time, if you saw this morning's show, um, actually it feels more citrusy now, a little bit brighter. I think the ices make it slightly sharper. But actually, since it's kind of humid out here and a bit on the warm side, it's actually quite enjoyable. It's kind of refreshing, nice and juicy, not heavy body, so nice and light and just kind of fun drinking. Mm. All right, all right, all right, all right. That's great. Rusty says, "L'élixir d'amour, the elixir of love." You brought up what's on my mind. Are we all agreed for the Ridgewood is the rich? I'm thinking yes. I'm thinking yes. What do you guys think about July 11th? Or not July 11th. July 11th is actually the Thursday, but what was that? The 13th. Is that what we want to do? You want to do it on a Saturday? That would be that we could do that. We could do that. Let me know what you think about that. I'm very, very open. I'm very open. George says, Tony, I have a special cigar I want our group to try that day. If that's so, we got to drag Mom out. Yeah, Mom, you got to come out and join us, man. Got to try and come out. We need to decide. All right, let's do that. Let's talk about Saturday, July 11th at the shop in Ridgewood with Gary, and we'll go up there and hang out, have a nice time. Let me know what you think about that. If it's the 13th, I'm out. Jeez, oh good Lord, why can't you go to Kentucky on the next day? Are you leaving that day to go to Kentucky? I'm going to presume you're driving. You're driving Amy, so I would request that day. Okay, July 11th is Thursday. Yeah, I know. I know July 11th is Thursday, but I wasn't sure if everyone could do a Thursday night or or better Saturday. We're in Kentucky. George is curious. I'm curious too. What kind of shop? It's a cigar shop. It's called the Tobacco Shop of Ridgewood in Ridgewood, New Jersey. Very nice. We did a live stream there 2 years ago. And Gary, the owner, and his wife are very, very hospitable, very welcoming. We had a wonderful time there. They really rolled out the carpet. Plus, the lounge itself is really great. Like, it is very much a place where, like, they've done it right. Like, it's comfortable, it's pretty, it's beautiful. The exhaust system is fabulous. Yeah, it's a fantastic shop. Yeah, what kind of shop is it? It's fantastic. But I know you're in Queens. Well worth it to come out. If hopefully if Young Mel watches this, Young Mel will come out as well. Maybe bring his wife. There's nice shopping out there. So if the wife wants to go out and do some shopping, that's okay too. Something to think about. Something to think about. All right, so let's get into our cigar of the day, the Ozgener Family Cigar Aramas. And Aramas is a name that we got our humidor here. I finally got it all like cleaned up and fixed up again so that it would be nice to enjoy. So we've got the cigars for the next couple weeks here, for the next few weeks. I've actually laid out the schedule for the next pretty much for the next month on down in the description below. So if you want to figure out what you'd like to smoke, and I've kind of tried to design it so that we're starting off today with the Ozgener, right? But we're moving on. I think next week I scheduled it out so that we're going to do the Jeremy Jack. It's either next week is Jeremy Jack, and then or next week is the Regalo Cubano, and then we're going to. I think we're going to go to. I think we're going to go from there to this one, the Fonseca, and then after that, On episode 199, it should be this apostate. And then for the technical episode 200, which will be July 11th, I picked this up while I was in at Cigars International. Got a fire. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit. There's a part of me that's a little bit skeptical to use this. I mean, I'm using the 200th is a big deal, so I wanted to get a nice cigar. And I know Fuentes are a very big deal, of course, but I haven't been blown away by Fuentes over the last, couple of years. So, but I thought, you know what? If we're gonna do the Got Fire, might as well give it a try. So we'll see. We'll see. That's our plan. The Fonseca MX, yeah, I've never had it, so I'm looking forward to it. That's why I was hoping that Thursday. Well, you know what, man? Maybe we can see about something. We can see about something. I mean, I can do any night. So if we want to do Thursday and go up on Thursday, that's perfectly okay with me. Rusty's going to Benton, Kentucky. I'm going for a culinary teachers conference. It starts the 14th, but I have to drive. Ah, gotcha. After I'm touring Bourbon Country, understood. But here's the thing about Bourbon Country. Like, it's just like wine country. You go to Bourbon Country, you go to wine country, and you drink, and then you drive. It's like, it's just madness. Like when I'm doing before we're doing tours of like, the wineries, it's like, what are we doing here? This is crazy. And the crazy thing about like these bourbon area, it's like some of these places, like Maker's Mark, is they're dry counties. Like you can't drink in the county except at the distillery and only for a taste. It's very strange. Very, very strange. Yeah, man, come and join us. Come and join us. We want to see you. We want to hang out. But yeah, well, let's try to do that. We can do that. I mean, I'm game. I'm game for anything. All right, so here we go. Ozgener Family. No, you need to. Yeah, but you know what, man? When we were 20s, I remember my first trip to Napa Valley. My friends from Hawaii, we went out there. We were my college friends. We flew out there, rented a Jeep, and we're driving around drinking and drinking. It's just terrible there. Like, I don't do that anymore because now that we're older, man, just too much. It's just too risky. It's just too much. Too much is on the line. Here it is, the Ozgener Family Cigars, the Aramas, and Aramas is actually it's a name that's a hybrid. So there's a place called Mout Ararat, and I think it's in Armenia, and Mout Ararat is really famous for Armenians. It's in Armenia, and so most people outside of Armenia call it Mout Ararat, but the Armenians themselves call it. Oh gosh, it's in the description. I totally forgot what that word is, but this word Aramas is actually a hybrid to pay respect to that, and the whole this particular cigar is supposed to pay respect to Cano's time growing up in Istanbul, which is an interesting thing because it has been the Turkish that has been very penalizing to the Armenians over the years, or the Ottomans, really. Yeah, we aren't 20 more. Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But we can act like it. Rusty says we can start on Thursday. You guys can continue. The supposed location of Noah's Ark. You mean, in Mout Ararat? Yes, yes. I was thinking in Benton. All right, so here it is. Nice looking cigar. I mean, it's a little bit veiny, not as silky smooth as other cigars we've had, but very nice. Very light manure, very barnyard, but very light, not heavily pronounced like we have with some cigars, right? So let me write this down here. We're going to say that we have to do the cold draw first. I can't just start off without the cold draw. That would not be cool. Oh, what's the ring gauge? 55. This is the A55, the A55 size, or they call it the Aramas A55. 5 and a half by 55 is the size. All right, let's cut the cap. I went to a new ice cream place this week. There's a new ice cream shop that opened here in Baltimore last weekend, a place called Always Ice Cream. Evidently, they're a small chain from Annapolis. So I was curious about it. So I took my nephew there yesterday or the day before. Oh, their ice cream is hella good. Like, it's super creamy, nice and flavorful. Like, it's really good. Like, all right, it may very well be the best ice cream in Baltimore now. So if you get the chance, Always Ice Cream down in the Cross Keys. We got there around 4 o'clock, and luckily there was nobody there, so it was great. It was like, oh, it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday, 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Nobody was there. It was fantastic. All right, cold draw time. There's some sweetness on the tongue. This card is brought to you by our friends at Zycar. If only they were sponsoring us. Yeah, if you come on the 200, we've got a bunch of giveaways, some cigars. It'll be, I hope it'll be worth your while for coming up. All right, here we go. Here we go. So sweetness, I think really pretty. Like, I'm gonna say for our first category, I'm gonna say 875. That was really very pleasant. All right, now it's light with the lightsaber. Speaking of crazy torches, if you remember a few weeks back, I got the Sears All Pro. And we did the seasoning of it on the show. I finally got to use it today. I made my steak for dinner. Did reverse sear, so heated the steak up in the oven to about 115, 120 degrees, and then used the Sears All Pro to sear the exterior. I did put a video on the Instagram, a short clip on Instagram. So if you wanted to see what it was like, you could check that out. Okay, nicely lit. Rushy says 5.5 by 55. Would that be a double robusto? I guess it could be. George, what do you think about that? Behike style. There we go, Behike style. Nice flavor, chocolate, tobacco, a little bit of spice, a little bit of black pepper. Ooh, that starts off very solidly. I'm surprised. I'm surprised. My one tree is just all kinds of messed up. If you could see this here, right? Look at this tree in that pot. Behind here, look at that thing. And you can't really see it from this angle, but yeah, look at it now. It's all like hemajang and bent over. I've always had trouble with that tree. I need to like replant it and make it vertical. I don't know why it bends over all the time. Maybe the root structure has problems. Ooh, I gotta say, this is starting off very nicely. Very interesting. Luckily, the right now the wind is very cooperative. Like the wind is going this way, and it's just taking the smoke and just. I love it when that happens. I guess we really are in the summertime. Outside, weather's nice. The days are getting longer. Of course, we're coming up to the solstice, the summer solstice on the 21st. So once that passes, it'll start to get darker again. We don't want to go too fast. So I know what Tony's smoking. Anybody, what else are you guys smoking? Rusty messaged me. Only smoking a Roma Craft. What else are you guys smoking? You know, George Shem has the Wise Man. I was chatting with some friends today. They were talking about, there's an article in Slate magazine about coffee shops, and they were talking about how one of the problems coffee shop owners face is, you know, people camping out, people that come down, they buy a drink, and then they're there for like 4 hours, and how to combat that. And I was, oh, Rusty says, I was enjoying my cigar, but then it started down. Oh, that sucks. I was on the porch, but the wind kicked in and the rain became horizontal. Wow, I got soaked. And my cigar, oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear that. The picture you sent me, man, looked beautiful, like nice and sunny and just really pretty. I was like, oh, that's really a beautiful place to smoke. I don't know what I was saying. My aunt wanted to go get some laurel trees today, you know, bay leaf. So we picked up some the laurel tree. Evidently, there's some kind of like good luck thing by having bay leaf trees or laurel bushes. So she was like, "Let's go drive me there and pick up some." And so I picked up these. She bought like 4 bushes, you know, for herself, for the house, for my brother, my cousin, my 2 cousins. It's like, oh, right on. My one cousin, she's kind of funny. Like she came out, she's like, she's telling they got the stuff and they went out to the truck before I did. And they're telling these attendants at the nursery, they're like, can you put some plastic bags under the trees in the back of my pickup? What are you guys doing? That's not necessary. Like, she's funny. She's funny like that. Yeah, very sad. It's very sad. Very, very sad. Oh, man, the weather went to shit about 30 minutes later, man. Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. George says, I had a tornado touchdown from about 2 miles from my, wow. That's crazy. Yeah, one of my former staff members, the tornado went through her backyard. And she's only in Hamilton. I was like, wow, that's crazy. At least I think maybe she could be in Parkville. I don't know where she is. She's somewhere around there. Harford Road somewhere. Yeah, we got the notices right around what, 8:30? Watch out for the tornado. So, oh, tornado. I looked outside. It was still kind of like this weather, and I was like, I come in this kind of like it was still kind of light. So I was like, oh man, is it getting darker? Because you see some of those videos, man, and it's really crazy. With this, mm, I'm liking it. So George, I think the label said it's distributed by Crown Heads. Who actually makes this? Do you know? Oh, it's General. General. Oh, never mind. General makes it. But is it distributed? I thought there was a CH on the band. I mean, on the wrapper. Is it? Or maybe it's not. Maybe that's something else. I can't tell what that says. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe it's better. Maybe that had to be another cigar. That was the CH. And how's the coffee? Good question. Let's find out. Light, refreshing, kind of very quite enjoyable. Almost lemony. Oh, Crown Heads distributes all the. Oh, okay, okay, good, good, good. Yeah, C. Was that? Did that say CH? I thought it said CH when I saw it earlier, but now that I'm looking at it closely, or now that I don't have my glasses. Oh, it is. I'm holding it like this. Really, it's like that. Mm, I could have sworn I saw CH earlier. Yeah, George, we can talk a little bit more about some of these ideas for Ridgewood. I'll be actually I have to have a meeting 9 a.m. in Springfield, Virginia on Saturday. I don't know how long it'll take. Maybe it may very well take 3 hours, but I can come and hang out a little bit after. Tony says General bought CAO. Tim Ozgener came back as Ozgener Family Cigars. Oh, okay, okay. And I'm reasonably certain that John Huber helped with the blend. Oh, okay, okay. So who makes them then? Like if it's General that owns it, and Crown Heads distributes, and why does Crown Head and who makes it? And then why does General need Crown Heads to distribute them? That I'm curious to know. This cigar will not live to see 930. Are you talking about this one or yours? All right, excellent, excellent. I will message you when I'm clear on Saturday. And if anybody else is down in the DC, Virginia area on Saturday, let me know. General doesn't own it; they own CAO. So Ozgener family is separate than that. That's correct, right? Is that correct? So Tim Ozgener came back to start. Oh, I guess it must be something like after when they sold the company to CAO or with the CAO, they probably had an NDA or non-compete, non-compete, and then after that non-compete had expired, then he came back and started Ozgener family. Am I making a correct assumption and guess there? It's purely a contract purchase. Oh, okay, okay. So how's that Tatuai collaboration that you're smoking there, George? This is very pretty. I'm starting to get more like tropical fruit tones to it that probably will go very well with the coffee now. Tony says yes. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, and Tim was out for at least. Wow, really? Does that mean they sold it over 10 years? Because man, time is flying by. That's craziness. Like, actually, I was thinking about that the other day. I was going through some old photos from 2018. Found some photos of my niece, who is now 14. So 6 years ago, she was 8. And in 6 years, she has changed dramatically. But in 6 years, I haven't changed very much. It's like, oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. George says, boy, is it great, rich and complex, but not exactly a my father style blend. Oh, is it more of a Tatuai style blend then? And Rusty was asking, did Rick Rodriguez work for Tim at CAO? That's something George can answer. That one, hopefully George will answer. I'll put that up there. Those are questions that I don't have answers for. I've been thinking about the shorebirds, the Delmarva shorebirds in Salisbury. One of my former staff members, I think she runs the food operations at the stadium. And I was like, I should go visit. And I was thinking, what if I go? I wonder how much a game is down there. Did you know the most expensive seat at the Shorebirds is $23? And I was like, $23? I don't know what Orioles cost. But I was just like, wow, that seems very reasonable. Then they have like skyboxes, 15 people, $385. That's like $26 a person. I was like, wow, that'd be kind of fun. I think. Actually, I don't know if it's fun or not. I have no idea. George says, no, Ricky was hired to take over after Tim was gone. He led the general revamp of the entire brand. Ah, okay, great, great. This is smoking very well. Like, just lovely. Just lovely. Nice flavor, nice blending. Some brightness, some tropicality, some chocolate, some pepper. Nothing terribly too pronounced or too strong or brutal, too brutal force. It just is nice complex blend. That's very, very enjoyable. I gotta say, I'm actually a little bit surprised. Like I wasn't expecting it to be as pleasant and enjoyable as this. I mean, I don't necessarily know what I was expecting, but it's definitely been very pleasant. Went and had a haircut the other day on Tuesday. I think it might be. Is it too short? What do you think? Too short on the sides? Too short? My mom sees it. She's always like, "It's too short on the sides." So I got to tell my barber not to go too tight. What do you think? Is it too narrow? I don't know. I don't know. But smoking well. No, I mean, the no uneven burning is what I was going to say. So it's very evenly burning, very nicely done. I mean, everything is just going well. Looks good. Thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I think this, with the emergence of the tropicality and the flavor of the cigar, goes nicely now with the coffee. The coffee kind of just like bright lemony, refreshing summer coffee. But I think we need to add a little bit more. Now that I've been drinking it, I need to add a little bit more. So let's put that on there. Yeah, construction has been just lovely. Look at that thing. Just crazy nice. Okay. And Tony seconds that. Yeah, man. I'm going to say now, well worth at least getting one or two for you to try for yourself to see what you think about the cigar because it's so far very nice. We had Disabled Americans Veterans come by the other day for their annual pickup, and I gave away a bunch of stuff. Had those chairs from the old studio, especially the high back chair, the wing chair. I gave that away. A little bit sad, but I was like, I got no place to put it here at the house. It's just taking up space, and it doesn't look like we're going to have a new studio anytime soon. So I was like, we'll just have to get another one someday. Hope that wasn't a mistake. I got that chair for $65 from the local Goodwill. But it'll come back again. Something like that will come. But what I did like about that one had really nice, like the wings were huge, like, and it was comfortable. Sometimes wing chairs a little bit tight, but the problem was, it's kind of old, a little bit dirty. Like I remember one day I'm sitting in it with short sleeves, and man, I started getting like a rash because the arm was so dirty. I was like, I gotta clean this thing. The Disabled American Veterans Worthy Cause. Yeah, I agree. I agree. They're really nice. Actually, they scheduled something on like 28th, and then I called them. I was like, hey, we got these things. bigger items, got a couple chairs and stuff like that. Can they take it? Like, oh, well, we'll schedule you for a separate pickup on the 4th. All right. So on the 28th, the guy showed up, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, but we're not ready for you. We don't have anything ready. Like we called, and the guy said, the woman said that the 4th is fine. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. He's like, no big deal. Actually, evidently their dispatch doesn't tell them these things. I'm like, oh, really? They should just tell. Why can't they just tell you so that you know? You don't have to waste your time stopping at places that may not be prepared for you. But they were super nice, super nice. They came the other day, and actually I wasn't here when they came. I just left it outside, and they came and took it all away. And very nice people there. Speaking of donations, if you've got any athletic shoes that you no longer need, put them in a bag and give them to Brian. Brian's collecting shoes, used athletic shoes for fundraising for a charity. And for every pair of shoes that they receive, the charity receives $7. So it's a great way to recycle your shoes and get rid of them and donate them. And I don't know if they recycle them or if they're reusing them, but it's a good way to get your shoes. I've got a whole bag for you there, Brian, in the truck that's just waiting. I probably have like 3 or 4 pairs of shoes in there. So yeah, this is just burning lovely. Very pretty. Everything's very pretty about this one. I need to slow down a little bit. I feel like it's starting to take off a little bit, like a little bit, burn a little bit more here than there, right? You can see a little bit of that curvature. We should collect shoes on the live show at Ridgewood. Oh, we can do that. We can do that. So for the rest of you guys. So we're talking maybe the 11th, maybe the 13th. What do you guys think? Can you guys do the 11th if we go to Ridgewood? I mean, really, the 11th would be the true 200th episode. So if we do that, the group show on the 11th, I mean, that would be great. That would be like the ideal. Then I don't know if we need to do one on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Okay, very good. Very good. Yeah, check with Gary, see what he thinks. Tony says he won't be able to on the 11th. Okay. Well, we will. There's nothing set in stone yet. We'll just talk. We're just tossing out the dates and times that may work. We'll see what we can do. We'll talk more. Figure it out. Figure it out. But Tony, yes, if you say sadly you don't believe so on the 11th, but does that mean the 13th would be a yes? Because that's always a good reason. I will ask Gary straight out which dates he prefers. All right, very good. Take off the X of that ring. Now it's getting a little bit uneven, I think, just because I'm pulling on it too much. I'm going to say, though, that we're probably at the end of the first third. I mean, that first third, it's been great, dare I say, excellent for flavor. Body has been medium light, but maybe I'll say excellent as well. George says, I agree. It might be operator error response with erratic, but I think it probably is. Typically, when it comes to me and I'm enjoying something, I'm going to pull on it more, which can lead to these kinds of burn issues. So, which means that it's, while that first third was really quite excellent, so far the last couple of puffs in this into the second third have been not as good. So I'm going to try to hold back a little bit and let it just kind of like cool out some. So how's your things been following any shows? I finally saw the last episode of Star Trek Discovery, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I'm a Discovery fan, so I'm fairly easy to please. Although I have been finding myself a little bit like the last 5 episodes of the season, I was kind of like a little bit wandering when I'm watching. Like I'm like jump because I watch on my computer, so I'm jumping on to other websites while it's playing because it's a little bit slow sometimes. I don't know if I really cared all that about the story this year, but not bad. It's a shame it's over. Evidently, Strange New Worlds is going to come back. They've just finished wrap shooting, so it probably won't start out until January, which is a little bit distressing. George wants to know if has anyone started the show on have you started the show on Netflix? The Star Show? The I'm not sure what show that is. I'm not sure. Rusty says The Bear season 3 starts 6/27. Yeah. Actually, when we were in Chicago last month or in April, I went to Mr. Beef where they shoot or where the show is based off of, and had a beef there. Really excellent. Actually, really enjoyable Mr. Beef. And the guys were telling me when I was hanging out there, they're like, yeah, they were like, I was there on let's see, Wednesday. No, I arrived there Thursday. They were like, yeah, on Monday they were shooting. I think they were shooting exteriors at the location, just doing. I think they were doing since the show is coming out now, and they had already shot the season by that point. I think they were just doing pickups, outdoor pickups, and they were like, yeah, they were here for like a day or two, and I was like, oh, that's kind of awesome. But I was thinking, what are they doing here? Like, why are they here? The whole set is completely different than the interior. Then I realized, oh, they're probably shooting exteriors, because sometimes when they're out smoking and stuff like that on the show, it's there. Is it the? Those are more birds cawing. I think there was a rabbit there earlier, but yeah. Oh, the eighth show. The eighth show. I have not seen that. I'm not familiar with that. I think I mentioned this last week. I watched that series called Pine Gap about the CIA Australian listening station in Northern Territories, Australia. I thought that was fairly good. I've been trying to catch up or trying to watch the most recent season of Resident Alien. I think I'm up to episode 4 out of 8, so it's coming along interesting. I enjoy Resident Alien. Oh darn it! That just fell off there. Time gap is well done. A little bit slow. It is a little bit slow, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it, like you said. All right, so they kind of dropped. Looks like it's a little bit not burning right here. Oh no, it's burning. It's burning. Yeah, there's a lot of flora or fauna. There's a lot of fauna out there. Like it's starting to sound like the wild kingdom out here. Birds, there's fireflies now. Oh, fireflies! I love that. Is it fireflies? Ladybugs? Not ladybugs. Fireflies. Is it fireflies? The ones that glow at night? The ones you can't put in the jar that die? I've been noticing these last few years that fireflies, lightning bugs, are they lightning bugs or fireflies? Whatever they are. They're not all summer, are they? They're just in June. Is that correct? Oh, we're almost an hour into the show. Good, good. Marlon Perkins was a true gent, but the true hero of the show is Jim. You know, I have to be honest, George. I'm a bit too young to remember Jim. I remember what I remember of Wild Kingdom really is, of course, Marlon Perkins, and of course, Mutual of Omaha, the sponsor. But I don't remember who Jim was. I'm presuming that was his sidekick or guide. Is that right? And I was really young when it was out. It was the '70s, so like I was elementary school. So I was like, man, but I remember watching it. I just don't remember much about it. I remember lions, maybe elephants. All the shows that I remember from the '70s, HR Puffin stuff. No, but HR Puffin stuff, that wasn't a show, right? That was just a character. Or was that the show too? Land of the Lost. Vaguely remember Land of the Lost. What other shows were out there? Of course, back then I was a child, so I was watching children's shows. Although later, when we got into the '80s, I was watching like things like Three's Company. Three's Company, when I was a child, was my favorite TV show. Like I loved Three's Company. I thought Jack Tripper was so hilarious, right? John Ritter was amazing. But it wasn't until I was much older and I watched like a rerun of it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it is so sexually suggestive. Like it's hyper suggestive." And I was like, when I was a child, man, it totally didn't even make it. So there's times when, like, with my nephews, right, things will happen, whatever on shows, whatever, and I wonder, like, oh, it's kind of sexualized, is it? And I'm like, oh, we need to be careful with that. But then, really, do they even understand that? Like, I didn't understand any of it. So would they understand at that same age? I don't know. George says that Jim was the guy who actually dealt with the wall. Oh, okay, okay, okay. And HR Puffin stuff was the name of the show. Okay, okay. I thought, okay. And my big crush at that era, Angela Cartwright, Penny, Penny Robinson. Oh, I was like, so in love with her. I was like, oh, she's so beautiful. Actually, I don't think she was. I don't even think I could vocalize it as beautiful because I was so young. But I just remember I had such a crush on her. I was like, ah. And don't forget the monkeys. Ah, the monkeys were fun. I did like that. Here in Baltimore, we had the what is now the Fox News station, WBFF, Channel 45, was the station that had a lot of children's programming from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoons. So while DC had Captain 20, is that right, Captain 20? The Spock looking guy. You guys had the Spock looking guy. We had Captain Chesapeake. And he was this dude that was like a captain. He floated around the inner harbor on a boat, on a houseboat, with this angry bird called Bruce, and this sea monster named Mondi that would just come and hang out with him. You know, yeah, the local programming, that was good times, man. Good times. I don't know if they do those kind of things anymore. Do they do those things anymore? Local programming like that? I don't think we have anything like that nowadays. I think everything's so like nationally networked and syndicated. What is it? The closest thing we have to local programming now is public television. Captain 20 was Captain 20. Okay. Because here in Baltimore, like where I lived in northern Baltimore, like Channel 20 was super fuzzy. Like it was tough to get that signal. But don't forget that before we had Captain Tug. Oh, that I didn't know. I never even heard of Captain Tug. I only knew Captain 20. And it's interesting to think about Star Trek in my time. Because, of course, by the time that I was of an age to watch TV, the original series was already well off the air by that point. It was in syndication, but I remember watching it, but I don't remember. I don't really remember a lot of those episodes. Like The Trouble with Tribbles is the one that I remember really well. But that's really it. That was like the most for me as a child. That was the most fun to watch. And George says the Channel 20 is considered the forerunner. Oh, awesome, awesome. I'm presuming that Channel 20 still exists in some form today. Yeah, good times, good times. Because you guys even had the horror show, right? Like on what's it, Saturday nights or something. There was like a horror time on Channel 20. I think we had that on Channel 45 here, something like that. I forgot the name. Maybe you guys could remember that in streaming. So the forerunner of all cable television in streaming, or it still exists in streaming? No, maybe 20 still exists in streaming. Okay. Ah, Gore Duvall. There we go. There we go. We had, I think it was called Creeper Theater or something like that. I can't remember. Gosh, I wasn't really one that watched a lot of horror when I was younger, so I was like, I don't really. I just remember that there was some kind of horror or macabre kind of like programming. And then we also had this one cable channel. Was it cable? No, it was scrambled television called WNUV, Channel 54. And I think was it at 11 o'clock? So they were the newest channels. There was here in Baltimore, there was 2, 11, 13, 45, and then 54 came out. And 54 at like 11 o'clock scrambled their signal for like adult type programming. I guess it was like softcore kind of programming. And I remember we would like get my house, we had the antenna, the TV antenna that had the little like dial, so the TV antenna would rotate with a motor. And you try to like see if you could dial it in, like to try to get it, but it never really worked. And then when we finally moved to cable, and cable back then, they had the box that had the cable, the long cable that came out to the channel selector that had the big dial on it. Like you'd sit there try to find the scramble channel. You're like, and you're just trying to click it, click it, click it. So you just, I think it was like as the channel would change, you'd see just a brief moment of like clarity, and then it would be scrambled again. You're like, oh, good times, good times, good times. Now with like, Ex hamster. It's all available. There's not. It's not even. It's not even a challenge anymore. As long as you have like a good connection, you're just ready to go, go, go. George says, and don't forget that Channel 20 also had one of the early dance shows that copied American Bandstand. Oh, it was called Wingding, and I was on the. Oh, that's epic, man. That's epic. How old were you when Sonny and Cher were on the show? And I'm presuming you were dancing, right? Dancing. Now, is this back in the 60s now? Because John Waters did this movie that I auditioned for. I did not get a role in it, called Hairspray. A bunch of my friends, a bunch of the dancers in the background of that movie were actually friends of mine. And evidently there was actually that Corny Collins show in the movie was based on a real show here as well. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because I don't remember when, by the time that I got to be like, about my time, elementary school and then into high school, I don't think we had those kind of dance, like local dance shows anymore. 13, and yes, I auditioned. Oh, that's epic. That's epic. 1966. Oh, that's epic. Ah, such interesting times, man. Such interesting times. Oh, so this is coming along nicely. Now, it has changed character a little bit. It's become a little bit darker, a little more brooding, right? Not as enjoyable in the same way as the first third, but still enjoyable. Just a little bit different. Still a nice pairing. I think it would have been fun if they had kept like local dance shows into the 80s. Not that I probably would have ever auditioned to go on the show. Yeah, stronger. Definitely stronger. I would definitely agree with that. I came across an interesting meme posted by a friend of mine. Had a picture of the U.S. Constitution, the "We the People," right? And the meme, was saying that all the people that were signing here were felons. And I'm like, what? And I just couldn't hold my tongue. I was like, it is, those people wouldn't, those people are not felons. They could never be considered felons because felons, you have to be tried and convicted to be a felon. What they could be considered are traitors to the crown, right? Which is a crime back then, punishable by death. Like those people would have been killed had we lost the revolution, right? Like, and then I said to her further, I was like, there's only on the true traitorous document, which is the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. There's only 6 people that signed the Declaration of Independence that also signed the U.S. Constitution. So by that point, 12 years later, the United States was already an established country. So there's no, I mean, I'm just like, oh God, so desperate. So people are so desperate to like claim this felon thing. It's like, time to make dinner. What are you going to make for tonight? I made some steak, good times. And then George is moving on to the Roman Neanderthal. Ooh, going for the big guns, going for the big guns. Revolutionaries maybe, terrorists, but not maybe. Oh, revolutionaries maybe terrorists, but not felons. I don't even know if we would call them terrorists because I mean, I don't even did terrorism. Did the idea of terrorism even exist during those times? Guerrilla warfare, probably, but terrorism? Some people are so desperate. But I know I can only wonder, like, do these people, like, they're upset, but are they giving him money? Are you sending money to your billionaire to help him with his whatever funding? Really? Does a billionaire need your donation? I don't know. I don't know. It's we're going a little bit, maybe we're going a little bit fast. It's a little bit warmer these last two puffs, so maybe you got to slow down just a little bit. What else been happening in the world? I don't know. I didn't check the news today. I was kind of doing my own thing today. Helped my mom get a new computer because her computer kind of died, so I went out to Micro Center to pick out one for her. I got to go set it up next. Yeah, it's definitely gotten warmer and a little bit more harsh. So I just gotta maybe set it down for a few minutes, let it chill. I'm gonna say that we can, it's changed. I'm gonna say it's very good plus on the body and the flavor. Yeah, let's wait a moment. Let's wait a moment here while we let this thing burn on. So tomorrow's the 7th. I was actually in one version of history, I was actually planning on flying to Los Angeles today because there's a show starting tomorrow at the Warner Brothers Studios in Burbank called Cinegear Expo. And Cinegear Expo is so when I went to Vegas in April, that was called the National Association of Broadcasters, NAB. So all about broadcasting and production. This one is called Cinegear, and this one's all about production and not really about broadcasting, but production from a motion picture standpoint. So there's one that happens in New York, like in February, and there's the one that happens now in June in LA. And that one's supposed to be really big. Like they take over most of Warner Brothers stages. And I was like, oh, I'd like to go see that and hang out there. A bunch of my friends are going. And I was like, they're like, are you going to come? I was like, I can't make it. Love to hang out there, but this time I can't go. Especially since I was just there a month ago. And I was like, that would be craziness. I got to open up this shop. So working on the shop, finally met with my contractor the other day and gave him my punch list of things we need to get done. He sent me a quote block. He's like, all right, so I'm going to move forward now. Hopefully get it kicked out. My buddy's got this big slab of white oak. And he's like, you can have it. And I was like, really? He's like, all right. Got to take it to the mill and have it, planed down so that we can finish it. But it's a white oak slab that's 19 feet long. And it's like, I was doing some research into white oak, and white oak is typically no longer, it's really difficult to find slabs longer than 12 feet. And this is 19. And I was like, man, it would be a shame to cut that thing. Like, if we could have it in its whole form, that could be pretty epic. So I'm trying to find a way to make that work. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, gosh, darn it. Just fell off again. We're getting some shifting in the winds. Now it's kind of Was going this way, now it's going this way. It just started to shift now. That last puff just. But it is pleasant now. Now we're in the 70s. Either the humidity's gone down a little bit, or I've just gotten used to the humidity, but it's rather pleasant out here. I think I've just gotten used to humidity because the humidor is still condensing. Like the exterior of the humidor is filled with condensation, or it's coated in condensation, right? Look at that. So how are your cigars coming along? I'm interested to know. Let me know what you're thinking, how they're coming. I was thinking about this the other day. We've had, or we will have had 200 shows in a few weeks. Some, of course, most of those are 2 hours long. Some, of course, have gone way over 2 hours. But let's just take the raw data of 200 hours. Tony says it's still coming along fantastic. Oh, glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. And most of the time, it's just me solo on this show. So when we reach 200 episodes, that means that I will have talked for nearly 400 hours nonstop. Good Lord, man, that's craziness. 400 hours. Like, how much is that? That's 1/5 of a working year, right? If you work 2,000 hours, if work is 2,000 hours a year, that is 1/5 of a year of work. Just yapping nonstop. That's a lot of gab. It's a little bit ridiculous. But I'm glad you're here and joining me along. I'm very, very honored that you guys would come along on this journey. I can't believe it's been 4 years, really. We started this in July of 2020, and during the middle of the pandemic, just kind of on a lark, really, just to like pass the time. And here we are, 195 episodes in, still rocking and rolling. I appreciate all of you being here. It's gotten hot, and even though I've been trying to slow down on it, it's kind of stayed hot. A little bit of bite on the tongue now. Maybe it just needs me to really take a few moments. Tony wants to know, Animal, are you posting at the shop on Saturday? Let him know. He wants to know. I would come down maybe, but I will be in Springfield. I've decided to, years ago, back when I lived in Hawaii, back in the late 80s, I think I mentioned this. I started cultivating bonsai. And I've always been interested in doing that again. And finally, I decided this year I'm going to actually do it. So Saturday, I'm coming to Springfield because that's going to be the monthly meeting of the Northern Virginia Bonsai Association. And there is a Baltimore group, I think. I was told, but the people that I met, they were like, if you're going to do bonsai, you want to go to the Northern. When we were at the Penn show a couple months ago, they were like, if you're going to do bonsai, you need to go to join. You need to go to the Northern Virginia. And I was like, Northern Virginia? Is there one here in Baltimore? Because that's kind of far. And they're like, no, no, no. Those guys are super hardcore. And I was like, all right, super hardcore. I'll go check it out. So George is coming down. Good. Good, good, good. How busy does it get up for you guys on Saturdays? Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of hanging out at a shop, that's what I was going to say earlier. So a buddy of mine posted this article from Slate Magazine. Slate Magazine's article was about the challenges of coffee shops with people that camp out for hours at a time. They buy one drink and they're there for 4 hours. And for coffee shop operators, that's always a perennial problem. And at Spro, we were very proactive in trying to discourage that. And it was not an active discouragement. It was more kind of very subtle discouragement. It's like, what do a lot of people like? I'll go to cafes and like I'll visit. Like I remember this one cafe I went to, really famous one in San Francisco, a place called Saint Frank. Everybody's like, oh, you got to go to Saint Frank. So I made the effort to go in downtown San Francisco. Went to this place, and I get there, and it's really pretty. They got all these tables on a wall, right? It's this long, like 1,000 square foot long kind of space, right? And there's a bar on one side, there's seating on the other, there's like a whole like banquette, and then a bunch of like two tops. Each one of those were full with one person on their laptop, every one. And I was like, that just kind of made me mad. I was like, this place sucks. But you know, that was just like maybe in 2017 when I was there, 2018. So my theories on this started many years ago. But like for us at Spro, it was always about like, we don't want to tell people they can't bring a laptop, right? We don't want to tell you that you can't do things, right? We want to welcome you and invite you in and encourage you to spend time with us, but subtly discourage you from spending all day with us, right? And so how we crafted it was that most people come in, they want to have Wi-Fi and they want to sit there with Wi-Fi all day long. And it's like, we just don't have Wi-Fi. There's no Wi-Fi here. There's no art. There's no music. There's no plants. Just clean, efficient, and but welcoming, right? So you can come in, sit down, bring your laptop with you, no problem. You sit down, relax, enjoy. We had some animators that would come in and they'd work on their animation for like an hour or two. But we didn't have Wi-Fi, so people that wanted to camp out couldn't camp out. Like it would just be not conducive for that. We also selected seats that were like comfortable, but for maybe 2 hours. Like after you sat for 2 hours in these chairs, like you'd start to feel it, and you're like, okay, maybe it's time to move on. So Tony says it depends on the Saturday, usually clear by 2 p.m. Oh, nice. So like you're totally packed until before 2 p.m. Is that correct? Oh, there we go. Now that's the that those puffs. Nicer. Just need a little time for it to cool back down. So in this new shop that we're building, it's going to be carry out. But I was thinking, what if we had like, I don't know, membership or subscription, or if you wanted to come and have a seat inside, instead of buying a drink, you'd pay a fee to use that. I was thinking about that. I was like, I wonder if we could do that. Like if you go to the United Lounge, right? Granted, the United Lounge is much bigger, nicer, and they have food. Well, what United likes to pass off for food. You pay if you're a non-member, you pay $60 now a day, a visit. Even if you're there an hour or longer. Oh, okay, so that's cool. Good to know. Good to know. So I wouldn't be like that. I think $60 would be a lot. Maybe 40, and then we give you a drink, complimentary drink. I don't know. These are some thoughts. These are thoughts I've been having lately about how do we want to approach the new place. Because I'm not really designing it as a coffee shop, typical coffee shop. Really, there's going to be seating, a bar seating, but that's going to be for like reserved service, right? You're going to make an appointment, come in and have a total experience with coffee. I'm still working on the whole mechanics of it all. But I think I hope it'll be very interesting, hopefully be very compelling for people to explore coffee in a whole new way. So we're coming now. We're really getting into the second third. I mean, the last third. It's definitely also gotten cooler out here. Let's see how this coffee's doing. Yeah, for tonight's purpose, very nice. Light, bright, a little bit lemony, citrusy. Very pleasant for summer drink, summer evening drinking. Refreshing. I like it. I like it. One of my friend's daughters called me yesterday. She's like, Uncle, my mom and dad says you lived in Hawaii. And I was like, yeah, I did. I did. She's like, I want to go to Hawaii. And I'm calling you because I wanted to ask you questions about going to Hawaii. And I was like, ask away. Let me know. I'm happy to help you. She's like, and it's funny because she was telling me, she's like, I was thinking about, I said, who are you going to go with? She was like, well, I was going to go with my cousin and one of my friends, but I want to go like in August, which is probably too early for them to go. Like they want to go like next year. And she was like, I don't really want to wait that long. And I said to her, here's something that I learned when I was younger too. I told her, I said, you should go. Definitely should go on your own. If you feel like you can go and travel on your own, you should definitely go because I told her when I was younger, I realized early on that if I waited for my friends to go with me on a trip, I would never go anywhere. Like I would never get to go. And I said, you just got to go and do it yourself. And she seems like fairly intrepid in that respect. So she was like, okay, you're right. I'm going to go. So I'm trying to help her figure out where she's going to go. Like she said, I can go for like maybe a week. Should I go to one island? Should I go to two islands? She said, well, you should probably go to two islands. You can go see the volcano on the big island, go to Oahu and hang out and see the stuff there. It's good to see, young people getting out there in the world and start to travel. She's 23. And I said, yeah, definitely, man. You're 23. You should definitely be out there. What are you waiting for? I started traveling on my own. Well, I guess technically I started traveling when I moved to Hawaii. So when I was 19, by the time I was 20, I was already like heading out to Asia. I was like, I'm going. Of course, back then I wanted to see family. But I told her, I said, hey, you don't want to leave. She's got a coworker that lives out there. And I said to her, well, hey, look, we have a network. I have a network. So not to worry. If you have any kind of troubles, we'll plug you in and you'll have some recourse in case something happens. Like when the town of Lahaina burned, last year, some of my friends were in Lahaina. They were actually staying in Kaanapali. And that day that Lahaina burned, they went to Kahului, which is back in the main town, to go shopping or whatever. They went to Costco, I think, and then they got caught there because the fire came and then they cut off access to where they were staying. The condo they rented, they couldn't go back. They would never go back to the condo. The owner of the condo would actually ship their stuff back home like the next month. But I had some friends there. I called them up. I called up one of my friends. He's like, hey, because one of my friends posted on his Facebook. He's like, if anybody's here in Maui and needs a place to hide out, you're welcome to crash at my house. I called him up. I said, hey, man, do you mind if I send my friends your way? And he's like, yeah, I can send them up. So I called up my friend. I said, hey, man, if you need a place to crash with your kids, go see my buddy up there. He lives up in upcountry Maui. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. So in that respect, there's a lot of I told her, if you're traveling alone, first time, go and have a good time. And if you need connection, we'll definitely connect you. And I told her, one of the things that I learned is that as you travel places, especially if you're going to places again and again, like I was telling you, it's like, I tend not to look at places very much like, I got to see everything. I said, if you see what you want to see, don't see what you don't have interest in. Like I was telling when I started going to Europe in 2008, I started going to Paris. I love Paris, by the way, love it. But when I started going to Paris, I ended up staying at this one hotel that I went to every time. I've been there every time I've gone to Paris. I've always stayed at the same hotel, and it's in what's called the Seventh District, which is on the left bank, but no, the right bank, the southern bank, whatever that is, left or right, probably right. And this hotel, really nice neighborhood, but it's actually 5 blocks from the Eiffel Tower. Like when I open the window, there's the Eiffel Tower, and it's like right there, like very close. And I told her, I went there like 3 times. Never once did I go to the Eiffel Tower, and I'm only 5 blocks away. It's not like I'm going to travel across the city or travel across the country to get there. I just got to walk a couple blocks away. I said to her, I just never went. And then I said to her, the reason I went to the Eiffel Tower eventually was one year I brought my girlfriend with me, and she was like, "We're going to go see the Eiffel Tower," and I was like, well, "All right." I was like, "All right, let's go." So I said to her, you can. I kind of look at things when I go places that I will probably. This will probably not be the only time that I go here. I will probably come back. If I enjoy it, I will come back. So there's always opportunity to go see more. Like I said, don't go and try to cram everything in. Enjoy what you want to see. Like I remember when I was years ago when I was younger, when I was living in Hawaii, I ended up driving tour buses, the big like Greyhound style coaches. I'd meet tourists, people that save money their entire lives to come to Hawaii for a week. And I would always try to tell them, hey, you know what, they'd tell me all their itineraries, like, they got all this stuff to do the whole week. They got it all planned out. And I was like, try to take one day and do nothing. That's the beauty of Hawaii. Just go and do nothing. Enjoy yourself. Don't feel like you have to see everything in one go. And that's what I was telling them. Don't see if you come back again. And the more you come back to a place, at least I tend to connect with people, right? And get to know people. And so like, I'll go back to places time and time again. And my circle of people that I know grows, and we like hang out. In certain cities, I'll have friends that we hang out with. And like when I go to town, it's like, hey, let's go hang out there. Yeah, the island style, exactly. Just kind of take it easy, relax, chill. Don't get too crazy. So I like that. I like that kind of thing. So I try to encourage her to do that, enjoy it. You'll meet people that you'll know or that you can get along with and do things. Now, of course, it's a little bit different for her because she's a girl, a woman. She's actually very attractive, very, very pretty girl, right? So there's a whole different factor than fat, ugly guy traveling than very pretty young girl traveling. Women have to take different kinds of precautions and approach situations differently than we would have to worry about, right? So I was like, well, and she was like, she likes to do outdoor activities, hiking and stuff like that. And she's like, I was like, well, I said, in Hawaii, there's certain places there's certain hikes if you want to go on them that should be fairly safe because they're very popular with tourists. So there's always a lot of people on those trails. So there's certain trails that I wouldn't worry about. But then if you wanted to do other ones, maybe to hike to some of the more remote like falls, like when you go in Hawaii, there's a couple falls where like you'll hike like 2 miles in. And the thing about Hawaii that on Oahu, they have these mountains. And on one side of the mountain, on the Honolulu side of the mountain, it's very sloped. For miles, it slopes up. And then it reaches its peak, about 1,000 feet, and then it's just sheer cliffs that drop like this, right? And they're craggly, they're kind of wedges, right? And so in the wedges, when it rains, there are falls that happens. And some of them are always falling. And like you go to this, like I remember this one fall, Waipio Falls. You go there, and it's beautiful. You're standing, it's 1,000-foot face, and it's just water falling. It's like, oh my God, it's incredible. It's incredible. And but to get there is pretty remote. like I went with some friends, but if you're going there by yourself, if you're a woman, I wouldn't go by myself just because it just, in those cases, they have like groups that will, I guess there's like hiking groups that are online that you meet and I said, those kind of places connect with people and go with that, go in a group. That way it'll be just a little bit safer. But for the most part, it's fairly safe. So now that I've slowed down with it, it's returning to form. Really enjoyable. It's just a matter of like not getting too fast into your burn with it. Very nice. Actually, it's gotten very pleasant outside. Like I could probably sleep out here. Oh, speaking of sleep, so like for the last, every once in a while I get these like not muscle spasm, but just so muscles feel sore like across the neck and shoulders. And so Brian and I were talking the other week or the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, I go to an acupuncturist." I was like, "Really, acupuncture?" He's like, "Yeah, it's covered by insurance." I was like, "It's covered by insurance? What?" Because I was like, "How much is acupuncture?" He's like, "It's covered by insurance." So I have a copay, and I was like, "What?" So I called up the doc, said, "Hey, can I come down?" And I went down there yesterday, had my first appointment, and he's poking me with all this stuff. I told him, I got these across the shoulder blades and the neck. It's like stiff. I'm always trying to massage it. I can never get it to relax. So he's like, "Okay, we can easily take care of that." So he puts in these needles all over me. Like I've got needles all. I got needles in my head. I got needles in my cheeks. I'm like, good Lord, it's like Hellraiser here. Tony says that Hawaii, it's one of the greatest places I've ever been. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? You should go back, man. You should go back and do more. This time, bring a woman. The problem with bringing women, though, is that here's my problem with bringing women is that I love traveling, and I always try to travel as cheap as possible, right? Like I'm looking for the cheapest hotel. If I go to Japan, like I'm looking for the cheap hotel, and the cheap hotels are very small, like tiny, tiny, like it's so small that you're playing Tetris every night that you go. Every night that I come back to my hotel room in Japan, it's like Tetris because I brought my stuff with me or I bought some stuff and now I need to put it away because you just can't like drop it anywhere, right? It's too small for that. We're talking like 150 square feet, right? So you can't just drop it in the way. You got to like pull out your bag, pack it in your bag, put the bag back in the corner where it's like as tucked away as it could be. But like, if you bring a woman, at least I feel this way. Like, bring a woman, you got to bring a nice, you got to get a nice hotel, right? You can't like just get like the cheap hotel. You got to get a nicer place because you got to show good face for the girl. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to travel with anyone. Yeah, women ain't cheap. Women ain't cheap. Yeah, yeah. You get too cheap with your woman, man. You ain't gonna get no loving. You got to get to loving. But what was I just saying? I was just saying something else before I went on that tangent about the women. Now I don't remember. Would it be able to afford the? Yeah, yeah. Like I remember one time I had a girlfriend, right? Took her to this one hotel in Hawaii, the Halekulani. One of my favorite hotels, by the way. If you have the means, I highly recommend it. Like it's just gorgeous, gorgeous. And so this is the kind of hotel that costs like, okay, so back in the day, like 30 years ago, this hotel cost, In 1994, it cost $300 a night, which is crazy. Like even today, I'm like $300 a night. That's crazy. That's like I don't want to pay that kind of money. But however, back in those days, if you're a resident of Hawaii, they have these things called kamaina rates, which are like resident rates. And back then, they were really generous. Like the resident rate in 1994 was half off. So that $300 room cost $150. Now, still $150 for me when I was like, I don't know, 25 years old. I was like, oh, it's a lot of money to pay for a hotel room. But I brought my girlfriend there. She loved it. It was fabulous. It was fabulous. Now that same hotel, $600 a night. And you think, okay, we're older now, $300. Okay, I could spurt for $300. But then it's like now the discounted rate is not 50%. It's 20%. So it's still $400. So I'm like, oh, $400. Okay, we're not staying there. I'm gonna call my cousin and stay in his extra spare bedroom. Or I'll call my other friend and be like, do you have that bed still outside? I can sleep on the deck. Oh man, good stuff. Maybe after I win the Powerball or Mega Millions, there you go, there you go. Then you can like go hog wild. If I won the Powerball, I'd probably do one night. All right, $600. That's it, and then go back to my cousin's house. Like I remember when we went to one of my really good friends. He calls me up. My best friend in college. He calls me up. This is years ago. He's like, "Hey man, we're gonna do my birthday." It's like, "All right, where are we going?" "We're gonna go to Moscow for the weekend." It's like, "Moscow for the weekend? What kind of psychoticness is this?" Mind you, my friend, he's loaded. Like he's very well to do. His friends, very well to do. Me, poor as all, compared to these guys, ultra poor. He's like, "We're staying at the Balchung Kempinski Hotel across from the Kremlin." All right. So I looked it up. $600 a night. This is 2008. And I was like, holy God, that's a lot of money. But one of my other friends who's from Canada, he was going to go too. And he's like, "Hey, man, are you going?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Going? You want to share rooms?" Like, thank God, yes. I will share a room with you. And so split a room, $300 a person per night, 3 nights. All right. All right. I can do that. All right. Then about a week before we leave, he's like, "Hey man, my wife won't let me go." I was like, "What are you talking about? Your wife won't let you go?" "Dude, I can't go by myself now. It's $600 a night." He's like, "I'm sorry, man. I really can't do it." I was like, "Oh, dude, you're killing me. You're killing me." So I had to like switch hotels. I found the Sheraton in Moscow, and I was like, "Okay, how much is the Sheraton?" Like $200. I was like, $200. All right, that's a lot of money, but all right, let's do it. So I did go, which was really it was a really great time. But I remember I was like, God, can't afford those kind of hotel rooms. It's crazy. Rusty says, "Come on, Aina inter-island flights used to rule $69." Well, nowadays it's not so bad. Like when I was there a year and a half ago, I think the inter-island flights were $90. So not as crazy as when it was just Hawaiian Airlines and charging what, $300. That's crazy. And I remember back in the 90s when I was living there, when Hawaiian and Aloha Airlines used to compete against each other, we could go to Maui. Like I remember my friend Tweety, her and I would go every blue moon. She'd be like, "What are you doing today?" I was like, "Nothing." "What are you doing?" "Nothing." "Let's go get tea." And what that meant between her and I was that means let's hop a flight, fly to Maui, rent a car, drive to Hana on the far side of the island, and go to the Hotel Hana Maui where they made this, what they call plantation iced tea, which is basically iced tea with pineapples. Really fun, really nice time. And so we'd do that for the day. And then it was like $48. And I think that was round trip. Really quite affordable back then. But now, terrible, terrible. Well, not as bad as 300, but folks used to get me that. Folks used to get me that when I went home. Oh, the flights. Yeah, yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. But even now, $90, not too bad. I would say that's not too bad. Actually, My friend's daughter, she called me because she was like, when she called me, she's like, well, they have fares like for $600. I was like, $600? That's a hell of a deal to go to Hawaii. I told her, anything under 800 right now, anything under $800 is a good deal to fly to Hawaii. Because $600 is how much we would pay back in the 90s to fly Baltimore to Honolulu. And the last time I went to Hawaii in October of 2022, I mean, the big reason that I went was that in February of 2022, United sent out a message to all the mileage members. They were like, it's our 75th anniversary of flying to Hawaii. We're going to do a 1-day special. 35,000 miles round trip anywhere in the country to Hawaii. And I was like, oh, 35,000 miles. But you had to book it then, and you had to come. And the window, you could not fly past Thanksgiving. Like right before Thanksgiving, there was a blackout period. So it had to be done. You had to complete your travel by like November 17th or something like that. And I was like, I have no idea when I'm going to be able to go, but I was like, I'm going to buy this ticket now. I'm going to book it for the absolute latest that I can absolutely go, which is why I went at Halloween. But 35,000 miles, which is, if you gave it like a penny per mile, it's $350. So that was a hell of a deal. Hell of a deal. She was also telling me that there's some dates like in September where it's supposed to be like $450, and I was like, $450. I told her, she's like, oh, but I wanted to go in August. I was like, August is hot. September's a little bit better. You go in September, and you got a couple of $100 extra to play with. But next time I go back to Hawaii, I definitely want to spend more time on the Big Island. Like, I think I was on the Big Island for 5 days last time. I think I would like to go for over a week, especially now that my friend is one of my really good friends. He's a priest, and he's actually Rusty's mom's priest. He runs the parish where Rusty's mom lives, as well as the next town. So he has the whole rectory by himself. He's like, yeah, man, come see at the rectory. And I was like, all right, I'm coming to the rectory. Sounds awesome. Do you mind if I bring girls? He's like, nope. It's like, all right, excellent. Bless you, Father, for I have sinned. Tony says, I think we paid $350 from Dulles for that last trip we went on. Oh, that was crazy cheap. That is a great deal. That was what, 1998, right? When we were all there? That was a great time. That was a great time. Tony came out with us one. We went, Tony and a couple other guys who we're friends with, went out to Hawaii. And this was in a phase of time when we were like outdoorsmen, right? Like we're like mountaineers. We were mountaineers, right? So we're like, we're gonna do this thing on Kauai called the Kalalau Trail. And basically it's a trail on the remote part of the island, 11 miles out to this valley, this valley where like nobody, it's super secluded. So we're like, we're gonna go for it. So we were training for that whole year, like, doing some hiking here and the local trails, buying gear. Like we had big backpacks full of gear and like food and like, I tell you what, we hiked to the first campsite, which is like 2 miles in, and it's 2 miles of switchback. So it's really like long. And no matter how much I thought that we had prepared, we were totally unprepared. Like I was totally unprepared. I was like, by the time we made it to the first campsite, I was done. I just mentally was like wasted. Like I just couldn't go further. I was like, I'm not gonna go any further. Like I had nightmares when we were there. I had this one nightmare. I'm like, I guess a dream, but I remember I had this one dream where I woke up and somebody was like, hey man, there's a car park right here. We could have driven. I was like, oh God, how do we get out of here? Oh, it was so crazy, so craziness. 1999. Okay, 1999. Rusty says if she could wait, see what the flights are first week after New Year's. She doesn't want to go that. She doesn't wait that long. She wants to go now. Flights are supposedly cheap because everyone is coming back from the holiday. That's true. That's true. They used to have very good rates. I think it was Christmas time going out to the mainland was, and then coming back was cheap. I remember those. I remember those. But I think those are only for flights originating in Hawaii, returning back to Hawaii, not from mainland to here, I think. Rusty says, I went in 2003, right after New Year's, round trip direct EWR H&L was 412. That's a great deal. I remember we went to Honolulu, was it 2001? Right after 9/11. So one of my good friends back then, Isaac, he's he's actually Hawaiian, from Hawaii. He's from Hawaii, and he's actually, at the time, he was DOD police, worked at the Pentagon. He was the first person into the Pentagon when the plane crashed into it, and he rescued all these people. So he was a hero, and he was lauded by the media and the president and all this. And the governor of Hawaii wanted to put him up, so they flew him out to Hawaii, and he was like, "Well, let's all go." And I was like, "All right." And back then, because airlines had been decimated by that, I bought a ticket from Baltimore to Honolulu for $250, cheapest price I ever paid. We went there, and the governor of Hawaii gave him the penthouse at the Royal Hawaiian. So we stayed at the penthouse. There's a whole bunch of us staying there. It was a really good time. Really good time. Yeah, that's a great deal. 412 is a great deal. The last campsite on the bluff was spectacular for. Oh, that's true. That's true. But man, I was mentally wasted. I was just not going to make it. Just not going to make it. I didn't even know how we get back to the trailhead. Like I was so like mentally defeated, physically defeated, mentally defeated. I was like, I thought we were ready. I thought we were, when we left, I was like, I'm ready. Oh man, so not ready. So we were charlatans and imposters on that trail. So we were out for 5 days camping in this place. And I remember we hiked back. We did make it back, got to the trailhead, and they had outdoor showers. I just took a shower there for the first time in 5 days. God, it was so glorious. Like I was so dirty. Like I was so, just felt dirty. I was dirty. Everything about it was dirty. I was like, oh my gosh. It was cold. The water was cold, brutally cold, but oh, it was so like glorious to be in the sun with the shower, the cold, and that ridiculous like biodiverse like soap. The Castile soap. That's what it was. The Castile soap. And now we're too old and fat. Hell, we were too old and fat then. But yeah, totally the best shower. Right, totally the best. Would be nice to go do it, but maybe this time the helicopter out there. So in the Big Island, if you go to the very north shore of the Big Island, the very northern tip of the Big Island, like if this is the Big Island, you go to the very northern tip of the Kohala Coast. You can drive all the way there, and there's this valley. You reach the end of the road, and there's the parking lot, and there's this valley down, and it's gorgeous. God, it's super gorgeous. And you look out, and it's like sheer cliffs. It's just amazingly beautiful. There's all these Hawaiian guys that are there, and luckily I'm kind of look like I'm a local guy, and so I can kind of speak the lingo. And we're talking, so the guy's like, yeah, we're trying to convince tourists not to get stuck down there because if you get stuck down there, like let's say you hike all the way down and you get injured, there's no cell service, and so we have to get somebody to come back up and then call for help. And if the Hawaii service has to come and get you, they probably have to fly in and get you, which costs hundreds of dollars to do that. You're like what, ambulances are $400? Like this is like several $1,000s to fly in and get you. So you're like, they're like, we really try to encourage people not to go down there. I was like, I get that. I just kind of looked. I was like, okay, looks nice. I'm not going no hiking. I'm too fat to be hiking anywhere. Just take the island hoppers to absolutely, absolutely. Stephen, what's going on, Stephen? Good evening. Nice to tune in, even if it's late. I know, man. Where have you been all this time? Been crashed out and under the weather. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Homesick. Damn summer cold. Oh yeah, that's terrible. So no, that's not why people. Actually, it's the so. If you look at the map of the Big Island, the Kohala Coast is the west side of the tip. From this point, you go down, and if you would, you could. I think there is a way to hike around it. If you go around the tip, the northern tip of the Big Island, then as you come around, that is the Waipio Valley. Right? I've actually never been to the Waipio Valley. I have some friends whose families are from Waipio, but I've never been down there. Like, they actually say you're not supposed to bring your rental cars into the valley because evidently it's really steep. I would like to see it one day, though. This is on the other side of the, the tip of the island. Okay, I can't get any more. Okay, that's the last puff. All right, I had to drop it because just too small. All right, let's see. I'm going to say that the last 8585. What else are we talking about here? Burn and draw has been overall very good. I'm going to say 85 as well. Very good. Consistency, very good. I'll say very good. Even though there were some changes, I'm still going to say very good. And then I'm going to say overall 85. So 17, 17. And then so 75, 77.75 plus 8.5. So I say 86.25 is the Ozgener Family Cigars Aramas A55. So pretty good, 86.25. One of the higher scores for the year so far. The one that was the highest was the Eladio Diaz 70th Anniversario that Tony gave me. That was 89.5, I think it was. So the highest score that was. So this is pretty far up there. Well, Stephen, I'm sorry to sign off just as you're joining us. I hope you feel better. My gosh, that's terrible. Summer colds are always the worst. I have this problem here that I end up turning on the AC at night, and like it gets really, really cold, and I'm freezing my butt off. I'm like pulling on the comforters, like, 'cause I'm like, oh my gosh, man, it's so cold up here. But oh yeah, so that's what I was saying, the acupuncture. So I did the acupuncture, and today the shoulder blades and the neck are quite relieved. Like that's great. The problem is that it kind of moved to the shoulders. Now the shoulder muscles are a little bit tight. I'm like, oh. So like, oh, it alleviated that, but now it's on the shoulders. Now I need to have that done next time. But my first outing with the acupuncture, so we'll see what happens. Thank you, Rusty. I appreciate that. All right, so I guess that's going to be it for today. It's 2 hours now, so it's about 10 o'clock. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. Mama, good to see you. Steven, sorry that you came so late. Tony, George, good to have you guys. Glad you're here. Back again next week. I've got the whole listing now down in the description below. I think next week is either the JJ cigar or the Cubana cigar. I'm not sure which one, but that's what we'll do next week, next Thursday, 8 p.m. as always. So hope you have a great week out there, and See you next time.